Hey Zwifters, welcome to live racing action from WTRL Zwift Racing League Season 3, Round 2 around Beach Island Loop. We're in here with the Division A1 race, and I'm joined by Josh McLellan for the first time in the commentary box. How you doing, Josh?
I am good, Adam. Thank you for having me tonight. Very excited for the race tonight, and it looks like the A graders have just taken off.
Yeah, frantic start as always. Nice big field in today. We'll get to have a little bit of a better look at them soon. As soon as this EPEN countdown ticks over in 3 minutes' time, we can have a look at exactly who's where and whether we've had any attrition early on in this race. But for the time being, it looks like a full-on start as always. How's it feel being in the
And it's
commentary
going to
box?
great, very good, very good. I'm keenly watching as I'm racing this tomorrow morning for the EMA time zone. But we've got some ADHR guys in here with us that I race with also. So very excited to see how these guys go. And it's going to get into this race really, really quickly. I think as soon as we hit the gravel, as we go over this first little summit out of Watopia, downtown Watopia, that is, we're going to hit the gravel into the Italian villas, up the gravel switchbacks, and I think it's going to light up there, Adam. I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to come up quick too. I mean, it's only about 5Ks in that we start seeing that light up. So, we're going over our first rise here, which is starting to stretch this field.
And already seen Mark O'Brien go to the front. I was going to mention him earlier. Mark O'Brien is a Aussie rider based down here in Melbourne and knows how to throw down the watts, and he's gone really early.
Yeah, wow, really pushing it over that early rise. It's a feature of all these routes that start from the Watopia Pens and head in this direction. And yeah, we're seeing a little bit of stretch. Let's have a look at the back of the field and see what impact that's having. A little bit of damage at the back.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mark do this a few times throughout the race. He has got a 20-minute average of 6 watts per kilo, so we're going to see him do this quite a lot. From the aero team, they came in for the fastest time for the time trial, 10 time trial last week. Sub 30 minutes for that trip around France they did.
Yikes. That's moving in
Yeah.
anybody's language. So I can see a few people here popping the steamroller power up out of desperation, even on the tarmac. That's how keen they were to try and hold on to this early
That's
move.
an interesting move because the steamroller won't actually give too much of a advantage on, maybe on this volcano tarmac that they're on. But I probably would have saved that for the gravel to come, only in a couple of K's time.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only the one banner before that sprint, and they've gone through it. So those riders have burnt their chance of any assistance from the power up going up that critical gravel climb. So yeah, a few twitchy riders, I think it's fair to say here.
Now, Adam, you're the engineer in the commentary box here. What are your thoughts on that steamroller power up and your understanding of it? I've done a little bit of reading up on it for my race tomorrow and also for this broadcast tonight. Where do you stand on the use of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the dirt is where it comes into its own, and pretty much the only place where it really is going to have an impact on this course. You get a little bit of a benefit on cobbles. You might get a little bit of benefit on this surface here around the volcano, but it's got to be the dirt. And we know that's going to be the critical section of the course leading up to the sprint. So if you're caught off the back going up that climb, the field accelerates. That's probably race over for a few of these riders when we get to that point.
Yeah, we're going to see, I think, a big split when we hit that gravel and up that gravel switchback and then into the sprint. I know talking to the AHDR guys today, the idea is there's no big sprinters in that team, but the idea is to try and go early and try and catch someone out or catch the bunch out on those gravel sections and up the climb and then try and hold out for the sprint to gain some points.
Right, so we might see some tactics kicking off pretty early as we cross over this land bridge towards the Italian villas, you reckon?
There'll be a little bit of attrition first of all, and a little bit of just settling into the race. But I will say that we might see a bit of action on that lap 2 or 3 from the AHDR team. All for cake team they are in APAC.
All right, well, look forward to coming back to check that out. I might just quickly jump across to the C grade races. We've had an attrition of about 10 riders off the back in the A's. So we are watching the C graders tonight as well. Hopefully, it looks like a nice little gap too between these races, so we should be able to catch the critical sections on all of those. So 2 HDR teams featured tonight. We have the Commodores and the Cruisers contesting the C1 division. And I'm
Looks
just
like
going to...
they've bunched up nicely there in those C team. That's looking good. A couple off the back already.
Yeah, a little bit of attrition here. 45 in the peloton out of a 67 starters. So yeah, it's been a full-on start for the C graders for sure. That rise out of the Watopia looks like it might have done some damage. And speaking of damage, I'm back in with the A's now, and we are going to hit this dirt. And let's stay tuned for some fireworks and see what happens up this climb.
We are hitting the dirt now. And let's see, everyone's sitting in at the moment. We're not seeing any couple. Here's the steamrollers coming. Look at that. There we go.
All right, who have we got off the front? Morgan from EVO. No, it's Gray from AHDR who has set the pace. Morgan on his wheel.
Gone early. Nice. So we can see there some big numbers being thrown, 8 and 9 watts per kilo around that front bunch and starting to string out a little bit.
Yeah, anyone who was
Sorry,
hoping
you go on.
to, anyone who was hoping to sit in here for the sprint have had their dreams absolutely shattered. This is stringing out more than we even thought it would. Steamroller power-ups going left, right, and center. A few arrows just to try and hold on. And this sprint might actually be decided from these early attackers right up the front here.
I think so. And there's some really smart use of that steamroller power up, lasting 30 seconds up the gravel. Here we go off the front.
Yeah, Wilson from Relentless has opened up a 1-2 second gap back to the chasers. We've headed past the beacon. There we go. That's 400 meters to go to the first prime. Wilson opened up a handy little gap, 2 seconds here. Some red numbers at the back though. 12 watts a kilo from Ben Hill from the Aero team. 13 watts from Lindsay from Deepak Elite. They're trying to chase down this lone attacker, and it looks like he's going to get swallowed up.
Here
comes Ben Hill with some big numbers. Final 100 meters. He's getting overhauled here. He's going to drop down to just under, or maybe 8th spot for Wilson from Relentless on that early attack. Big surge from Ben Hill from Aero. Looks like he took the maximum points. And wow, this race is in pieces, Josh.
All over the place. I'm looking at Zwift Companion now, and it's still strung out. There's people still going through the sprint as we speak. It is. There's some big numbers being done here, and looking at that Deepak Elite and those Aero teams, there's some big sprinters in those teams looking early. So it's going to be a big race now. Now, interestingly, at this part of the race, we're going to see maybe a little bit of settling of the bunch here. There's a bit of time that we can sort of bunch up again. It'll be interesting to see if there's any counters out of the sprint.
Yeah, we've got about 31 in the main peloton now, 5 seconds back to that second group on the road. It does look like they might just settle a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a few bunches come back together here. We might get back to that 40 or 50 in that lead peloton for the A1 race, and a few flat kilometers now. So we might, as you say, see a little bit of settling. But yeah, an opportunity to counterattack over with some tired legs, possibly.
We have got a split from that very front bunch up to about 5 seconds now. So it'll be interesting to see if those guys stay away.
Yeah, we'll jump back in with the A's soon. The C's have just hit the dirt climb, and similar story playing out here. I can see steamroller power-ups popping off left, right, and center. Anyone who's got one is playing it right now. We've got 3 riders laying down the hurt at the front, trying to stretch out the field through this climb. It looks like at the front of the race, who have we got represented? Giganti from Evo, Marshall from Cryogen, and Andy Kite from AHDR. looks like it's lost him, but we had an attack from AHDR off the front. Hard to keep track of this field. They are stretching out and
It is stretched out.
attacking hard. So I'm gonna try and get to the Zwift is not helping me here, but here we go. We're in
There
with
you are.
our leaders now, heading into the cave, which is the start of this sprint segment.
So Adam Benson from AHDR sitting in nicely there in first place. It is actually
Yeah, it's Adam
going
Benson.
for the sprint here. Here he goes.
You call us through this one, Josh. Let's have a look.
So Adam coming up, 200 to go. He's holding on, and I think he will. Knowing Adam, he will hold on that very well.
Yeah, Franz Duke from Evo
Franz from Evo still just
closing
hanging
low.
in there, and who was that?
Looks
Oh,
like
Adam kicks again. There we go.
Gove Spartacus from AHDR actually kicked over the top. Adam's hold on to
Oh,
third.
here we go.
So AHDR taking
There's
first and third.
some good points for AHDR there in that first lap.
Absolutely. And so we've got about 6 or 7 off the front here. And this race has, again, like our A's, been absolutely shattered to pieces. So we've got 1s and 2s up the road. And I'm trying to guess the bulk of our peloton seem to be back around 20 or 30th spot. Some little time gaps. And we'll see whether they can zipper this up down this gradual descent.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that one come back together in the C's there. There's only that small little gaps opening up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they settle in together and head around to the tunnels for that long lead in for the downtown sprint.
Yeah, it does look like the damage has sort of been done. We've got about 28, 30 riders left at the front of this race. It looks like they're all going to come together on this descent here. So about half the field off the back already. Some serious attrition, as we thought would happen on that dirt climb. And it'll be interesting to see when we go back through the results or on the fastest segment time results compared to the fastest over the line. We certainly saw riders lighting up early, going hard for that segment. What do you reckon? Have we seen the faster segment times for tonight already?
Look, it's not uncommon in these ZRL races that happens, but I think we might see them again. You know, the Beach Island loop is only a 12.8k loop. I think we might see some faster times again.
Yeah, well, the A's, I think there would have been some tired legs from that attack. Probably it was almost a 1 kilometre long effort for the A graders there just to hold on to the front, let alone contesting for the sprint. So perhaps if we see a little more of a bit more of a sedate climb later on, maybe it might be optimistic saying that. A few might be hoping for it compared to the effort that we just saw. But yeah, there might be a possibility there that we do get some legs saved up the climb in the later 2 laps, and maybe someone can go all out on just the sprint segment and top those times. So yeah, things
So
have
just
come
having
down.
a look back at the A grade guys, we did see Mark O'Brien with another little tack off the front, but we've got a front bunch of about 30 to about 35 riders in this front batch, all sitting in together, coming through the tunnels now.
Right, I'm going to make my way up the field. I managed to jump back
As
into
you flicked through the field there, we saw Tim Devine from AHDR, a good mate of mine from here in Melbourne. Very good climber, Tim. So he'll be good at just sitting in the bunches at the moment. He will really shine in sort of a bit more of the hillier stages and definitely time trials as well. Held 4.6 average for the time trial last week in that team.
Impressive. I wouldn't mind him on my team. So yeah, it looks like a few riders, and as you mentioned, maybe some of our climbers have felt the effect of that really strong sprint effort through the first prime, and we're down to peloton of about 38 riders out of 81 starters in the A grade race. The climbers will get their chance later on. We've got a brutal stage coming up on cobbled climbs, and then the Queen stage, I guess you'd call it, around Surrey Hills to wrap us up for this season. So they'll definitely get their chance to take some revenge on the sprinters.
Yeah, that'll be where Tim will shine.
So a little rise here, no real attack from the front of the field. Looks like as we're coming around to the end of our first lap in the A grade race, I imagine there's some tired legs here looking to settle in hopefully recover a little bit before things kick off again at that dirt climb.
And Adam, in your preview to the ZROS, you sort of analysed this sprint into downtown Watopia, and I recall you saying that you do need to burn a little bit of a match out of that tunnel there. Talk us through the rest.
Yeah, I think there's sort of no point just trying to sit in through that tunnel there. You're going to have to surge a little bit, and you don't want to be caught out by a long range attack, which if you're in the front of this bunch and you don't really fancy yourself in that final 15 seconds, you're going to want to go long from that pinch. So I always recommend staying up at the front. Hopefully it means you get to ease off the gas, recover through this here, and this turn here is 600 meters to go to the end of the race. So I'm sure we'll see some action here. Actually, in the video that I featured, this little section here, which is about 500 meters to go to about 350 meters to go when we take this sweeping right-hand bend, is an ideal spot for a long-range attack. I know your eyes were lighting up at that thought. Because you sort of can get away while the road straightens out, and then as it turns around, it's too late for those that have missed the move. So I'm looking forward to how this race is going to pan out, what we might see happen come lap 3. But 2 more primes to go, and we'll see whether this field of 38 gets whittled down any further. So Josh, I'm not sure of the standings. I haven't had a chance yet to look at the standings from last week's team time trial in this grade. Do you have any idea about who's looking like being the top teams vying
Well,
for
I
this?
think, look, Aero were essentially unstoppable last week. Their team made up of some very strong A-plus riders, and taking out the top spot of the whole of the week with a 29. The next behind, they broke that sub 30-minute time. Everyone else was after 30 minutes.
Wow, so
Pack Elite was an interesting team there. They didn't feature up in the high standings, but I think they'll be suited to a lot more of the races that we're seeing, especially somewhere like today. They've got 2 big sprinters in James Bevan. We're looking up at like 18 watts per kilo for their 15-second sprint. But also with him was Matteo Campanomi. In that DPAC team as well. And as we talk about these guys, there's Mark O'Brien off the front again, just a lazy 5 to 6 watts per kilo. And actually putting a bit of time into these guys now, a bit of a gap there, 2 seconds.
yeah, a little bit more successful on lap 2 than he was at lap 1, attacking at the same point. No panic in the group yet. They're just kind of sitting at 4.5, 5 on the front. Just letting Mark dangle a little bit out there a little bit, but yeah, we're seeing some matches burnt just chasing this move back.
That's not a bad move by the rest of that bunch there because, Marco, as we're seeing, very, very strong rider, but he's also got Harley Moore in the team, which is their big sprinter. I would have liked to see Mark save a little bit of his legs. Maybe he's got more in there. He probably does. I would have liked to see Mark work a little bit more for Harley. Harley is a big man, got a big sprint as well at 1200 watts. Only about 14 watts per kilo for that 15 seconds. But if he was able to sit on Mark for the lead out, that's a pretty formidable lead out train, as we can see.
Yeah, well, maybe there's some. What do you think the tactics are here with sending Mark up the road on both lap 1 and lap 2?
I really don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit of a show of force by Mark here. I'm keen for that myself more often than not, as you know. So maybe it's just a little bit of a show of force. And as I said, that Aero team were formidable in that time trial last week. So maybe they do have, I shouldn't say maybe, but they do have some more riders in there that can probably lead out Harley and even contest for the sprint themselves.
Oh, so yeah, we'll be keeping a close eye on how this team sort of put it all together with all those weapons that they've got. See if they can dominate the points race as much as they did the team time trial. As we're watching this, I'm just trying to get back to the C's to check in on how they're going. Having a little bit of problems with the moods of the companion app. So we'll stick in with the A's just for the time being, but hopefully we'll be able to get you back into C grade peloton soon, and we'll see how that ride has come back together after the damage that we saw happen through that gravel climb and the sprint. So Josh, you're racing in the morning. What's your strategy and anything you've changed after watching how these races have
Oh,
gone?
it'll very much be just trying to sit in for that first lap. First lap through the sprint, coming so early in the race. I will be just trying to stay with this front bunch. If I can get through this front bunch through that first sprint, I'll be pretty happy. If I'm with that front bunch, no doubt I will try and contest for a little bit of some sprint points in there as well. But the trick for me will be to go for a bit of a longer range attack. So I will be pushing to the front as soon as we hit that gravel, and then up the gravel switchbacks. We've got some good light races in our team, so hopefully I can just push through and carry those, use what I've got up the switchbacks and into the villas, and then carry the team through to hold on for some sprint points.
Yeah, nice. I'm a little bit nervous about that first lap climb after seeing what happened on this one. I think everyone's been talking about it in their team chats this week, and yeah, everyone's keen to make a statement up that hill and really stretch things out before the intermediate sprint. So yeah, a little apprehensive ahead of tomorrow's racing.
Yeah, well, mate, Adam, you're the sprinter, mate. You're the sprinter, so you do what you do best, mate. You can love to hold a wheel and sit in there. So I think you'll be fine to at least contest for that first sprint. But
Oh, we're gonna
a
have
good
to.
warm up is what we're going to need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thankfully, well, yeah, maybe thankfully I had a clash with work. I can't race at 4:45 in the morning. So I do get to do the comparatively social time of 9:15 tomorrow, which I think I'll appreciate
Ah,
with
nice.
with that first sprint coming so early in the race. So I've
So
managed to find.
just an update on the A grade guys. We've hit the gravel again. The steamrollers are out,
All right.
and they've got over a minute on or right on a minute, 58 seconds back to the group behind them.
Wow. All right. So definitely seen the major selection of that race. As you see, a little bit of action here in the C grade race. A number of AHDR jerseys represented up the front. And I will just try and get us back to the A graders for that sprint. Once again, the Zwift companion app in its wisdom is making life very difficult for me.
So not as strung out this time, Adam. We've got a couple up the road again, but not as strung out as the first time. And I've lost my front riders. Coming through the sprint now, hitting that checkpoint. There's a couple way up the road. The aero team again, gone hard. Nick Velo kicks all the way up the front by himself. 100 meters to go with Harley Moore, as I said, sitting in nicely.
You called it.
Are they going to get run over at the very end? But they are. Aero with 4 riders in that top 10 for that second sprint. So some good points for
Wow.
Aero there.
All right, we'll be keeping a very close eye on them for the remainder of the race. Looks like they're just really trying to take the series by the scruff of the neck early on in the first 2 rounds. Yes, apologies to our viewers there. Wasn't able to get back to the A grade race. Some technical difficulties with the jumping between grades on the companion app. But we'll stick with the C's here through the gravel and up for their second prime of this race. And then we'll see if we can jump back in with the A's.
The A grade guys have come back together very quickly. They are starting to show signs of a bit of hurt after that first lap and that second sprint, but they've come back together quickly. But as I said, aero with 4 riders in that top 10, maybe even more. I couldn't see.
All right, so dominant start from the aero team in the A graders. Looks like AHDR definitely the best represented here in the front of the Cs, although we do have 2 AHDR teams contesting this division. So expecting them to have a pretty good presence here. It'll be a matter of how they split the points. But we do see a couple of other teams well represented. We've got 3 in the yellow and black striped jerseys. I'll just try and catch exactly which team that is. A couple of cryogen jerseys by the look of it up the front. So yeah, heading over to the land bridge now and forward to seeing how the second sprint plays out from the reduced peloton. So while we take a look at that, Josh, I'm just going to jump back in and see whether I can find our A grade races for after this sprint. Bike choice for you tomorrow. You sticking with your tried and true Tron?
I'll be sticking with the tried and tested Tron, but also to the point that I'm not yet at a high enough level to have the S-Works bench and disc that a lot of people are on. But no, I'm happy with the Tron. I like
Yep.
the blue Tron, blue neon Tron to match the AHDR kit.
Very nice. All right, well, the good news is that I have managed to tag onto Sam Lindsay in the A grade race. So we'll stick with the Cs for now, watch them go through their second prime, and then we'll be able to jump back in with the As to watch them take on lap number 3. Zwift Companion decided that it's going to play ball for us. Let's take a quick look at the standings here in the C1 division. I'll see how they went in the team time trial last week.
Just watching the A grades, Adam, and interestingly, a few steamrollers being used on those short gravel sections around coming into the tunnels, over the islands and into the tunnels. So maybe that's just a little bit of fatigue kicking in.
Yeah, interesting. I would have thought that, well, I guess it's better to use it and avoid getting dropped and try and hold on than it is to get dropped while you're still holding
I
onto a
would have
power
thought
up.
I would have held on to it. I would have held on to it until through the downtown sprint into the gravel switchbacks, as we're seeing now with the C graders.
Yep, I'm one for holding on for grim death to the power ups, so I know what I would have
Yep.
been doing. Yeah.
As we're seeing here, the steamrollers coming into their own.
Yeah, Sullivan from Dirt and Ernie has opened up a huge gap up this climb. 2 seconds back to the chaser Ant from Cryogen, 4 seconds back to the peloton. And Dirt and Ernie second last week in the team time trial. So yeah, looking to close that gap and get to the top of the table.
Let's see if these guys can hold on to the sprint. They've got some late steamrollers coming and joining them. I think they went early, so it's interesting to see where to pull the steamroller. You do get 30 seconds of that steamroller, so you can see that these guys have been able to bridge and go over the top.
Yeah, so Benson again.
Franz Duke from Evo again, who's up there again.
Yeah,
And
again, it's
Adam,
the usual suspects we saw from lap 1. Benson and Franz Duke duking it out again for top points on the first across the line. Looks like they've got a nice gap over the rest of the peloton too. So we're down to these 3 riders: Ant from Cryogen, Franz Duke from Evo, Benson and Sullivan from Dirt and Ernie, Benson from AHDR, who is currently in the lead. Sullivan, we saw attack, go very, very long up the climb, trying to close that gap, is inching close. I'm not sure if he's going to get there. Benson holding on. No!
no, he's gone.
Sullivan over the top with a long, long bomb, stretched out the peloton, opened it up to about a 3-second gap. And yeah, top 10 just coming through the banner now. So a couple of AHDR jerseys sneaking in for some points there in that top 10. And once again, damage up that climb.
So I keep saying Adam. That's not Adam Benson that I'm thinking of, is it?
Looks like it's another Benson.
Yeah, another
Yeah, shout
Benson.
screwed.
Okay.
We'll have to jump in on Zwift Power. We'll get the official.
Yeah, see who I keep talking about wrongly. Apologies, who I'm talking about wrongly.
Let's have a look now. We'll get it right. We have Matthew Benson from the
Matthew
HDR
Benson.
Cruises.
Matthew Benson. My apologies, Matthew. Well done. Stay up there in that top 3 of these primes.
Yeah, so some coming together again.
Sorry, Adam, just giving you an update. Mark O'Brien off the front again in the tunnels in that long lead into downtown Watopia.
All right, well, let's jump back in with the A's and Sam Lindsay from Deepak Elite, who's held on to the front peloton. And why not, let's jump up and find Mark O'Brien, see what sort of gap he's opened up here.
2 seconds on the group. So we're just coming out of the tunnels. That little kicker that we talk about. And still holding that, yes, doesn't seem to be able to get any more than that 2 second away. And if I was in that bunch, I would not allow Mark to go any further than that 2 seconds. We'd just leave him hanging out there, unless I was on his team, of course, and I'd hold him up, hold up the bunch.
Yeah, it seems like it's the strategy here to, just let him dangle a little bit. Maybe this is Mark's strategy, just to try and up the tempo, keep it high, make other teams do the chasing and let the aero sprinters sit
Exactly
in.
right. You can see Deepak Elite and Cryogen and Relentless up the front there. We're not really seeing many of the other aero guys. They're just sitting in nicely. So very much it looks like they're just trying to get the other teams to chase. So they're ready. They've got their team just goes so deep, doesn't it, with their riders?
Yeah, a lot of weapons to deploy in this squad, and I mean, I guess we can't argue with success. Like you said, 4 in the top 10 or so in the lap 2 sprint. It seems to be doing the job. These continual attacks from Mark O'Brien off the front. And it looks like Deepak have had a bit of enough of this. They're going to try and bring it back down and try and take the heat out of this group.
Let's
But
see, that's smart. That's smart. Deepak are the ones that have got the big sprinters in this race. So, the Aero are really playing to their strengths here and making Deepak work.
yeah, well, we've seen Divola from Deepak have to kind of come across and close that move down. Although I think he's probably hoping to stitch this back up and bring Mark back, but all he's done is join him at the front. We've still got a couple of second gap there as we head into lap number 3. And I tell you what, I'm glad I'm in the commentary box watching this one instead of trying to hold on to this group. This
You
is
can see Diavola and Mark O'Brien sitting up the front, just dangling out the front at 5 to 6 watts per kilo, or high 5s to 6 watts per kilo. That's great.
yep, they are.
Mark will do that. Mark will do that all day long.
Yeah, I guess that's the benefit of the ZRL format, isn't it? Having the team format means that you can play with your weapons. It's different from the usual Zwift where it's just every man for himself. So we do get to see some of these really interesting race tactics and team tactics, which is nice. Coming up this little rise for the 3rd and final time. A little bit of action back in the peloton. Ottstott from Relentless now looking to bridge across. And this could almost become a little bit of a dangerous move here, Josh. If we get enough
That's right.
engines at the
Yeah.
front, as Ottstott makes the gap, makes it a 3-man team leading this peloton. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one plays out. As Ottstott just keeps going over the top. He's not hanging around looking to look at each other and figure out who's going to work. He's just said, come along with me. Let's make it happen. We're going to try and make this a serious gap. And Devola from Deepak looks like he might be keen for it. He's not sitting on Mark
Looks
O'Brien's
like
ear.
they're chasing. Mark's just going to take the lift. If they can survive through this, up this next sprint, they might be able to get away a little bit. Now, just back in the bunch, I'm watching Nick from Valonic's aero. He went to the front and then very quickly just let the bunch catch him. So I think aero are happy for this split to go. These three off the front to go.
Yeah, well, still a lot of road left to cover, isn't there? So I think if I was them, I'd be feeling pretty happy with yeah, watching the other teams put in the effort to close down this gap. And as watching these guys go around the volcano, 4 second gap now to the break. I'm just going to jump back into Zwift Companion, see if I can tee up someone from the C grade riders that we'll be able to jump in with. But I think given the difficulties that we've had here, we'll stick with the A's through their final intermediate sprint and to the finish, and then we'll try and jump in with the C's to catch the end of that race.
We've just got another rider from Each Dirt trying to go off the front to join those three at the front. But the group very happy just to sit in. Oh, a little bit of a response here. A little bit of a response here, Adam. We're reeling in this three off the front very quickly, and a reaction for the rest of the bunch. It's starting to split out a little bit, but I think we will see this come back together.
Yeah, I suppose there's only a couple of Ks now to hit that gravel climb again, so there might be some interest in stitching it back together before we get there. They've closed it from 4 seconds to 3. Although once again, we've got another engine clear, so
That's right.
it's just very delicately poised,
Quick.
this one.
Yes. Only 2 seconds back to that bunch, so I think that bunch will come back and grab them down this descent.
Yeah, it does look like there's enough interest in the bunch in closing this gap before that dirt climb that we might see that all come back together for one last surge up through the gravel.
We're now seeing nearly 90 seconds split to the next big group off this. So they're sitting in, there's a group of actually about a 1 minute split back to about 5 riders. And then looks like the Gruppetto, and then a few more groups sitting back. The Gruppetto of the A grade is about 2 minutes back on this front group now.
All right, so all the big points definitely going to be decided here in this front group of 25 riders or so that we've seen established pretty early on in the piece. Shout out to my friend Robin from KRT. We had some good fun racing the Stages of Dirt a few months back when I was in A grade. That's a little while ago for me now, Josh, but quite happy in the Bs.
Oh, yes, stages of, yes, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, and here we go again. Mark O'Brien, he's definitely the rider to watch. Not
I bumped into Mark late last year, before Christmas it was, and he was riding from Melbourne to Wandon.
Yeah.
Every day for work, commuting, dropping the backpack off, and doing repeats up some of the hills around the Dandenongs, and then going out to Wandon and then back home again each day. This was his preparation for the Nationals.
Wow. So, well, we're seeing the benefits of all that at the moment. Definitely looks like the fittest rider in the field. The way he's been able to attack and attack again off the front of this field, and I guess we're seeing sort of probing attacks early on in non-critical parts of the course, you might say, but this one is a serious one in the most critical part of the course, heading into this dirt climb, sorry. But they're not sitting back and letting him take this one for 1 minute. Here we go.
No. So there's a few steamrollers going early for that easy attack. I'm still thinking, well, I don't know where I would use this steamroller. I guess it's going to be depending on where you sit in the bunch.
Yeah, so Lindsay from Deepak Elite is the one that's taking this one up. And yeah, once again, we're seeing riders not happy to stretch the field here, but really trying to open up a gap before the sprint section and then hold on for those first across the line points. Lindsay might have the legs to do it here. He's opened up 3 seconds on the peloton and doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. Have a look now as we enter the tunnel. 4 seconds now for Lindsay. It looks like he may have just done enough here. He's got 400 meters to go, but it's a big gap
And
back to the rest of the
holding
peloton.
7 watts per kilo this whole time. We're
It's
pushing 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, starting to see the big watts coming from behind though. PB5 from Relentless, 14 watts per kilo. Harley Moore, 8.5. James Bevan, 13 watts per kilo from Deepak Elite, trying to close down this gap. But Lindsay comes around the final corner, just a few meters to go. He gets across, and then we've got
Just going to
a
get there.
few chasers coming through to close out the top 3. We see Bevan, Portridge Martson from Aero, Green, Dave from Evo up there as well. And again, bit of a stretch, and we'll stick with this race here through till the finish. We'll see if these groups can come back together. Whether Mark O'Brien's going to try and attack over the top of some very tired legs.
Let's. I think the odds are highly favour in in Mark seeing some road between him and the bunch again.
Yeah, interesting to see
And
Aero.
where's he going again?
Yeah, it just
After that big effort, he's gone again. So he's counted his own counter.
yeah, interesting move here. I think we typically expect this is the spot to sit up and just catch a wheel and bring that heart rate down. He's at 185 beats per minute, feeling that huge effort up the climb and through the sprint where we just saw him hold insane numbers all the way to the end and easily get close in the end, but never really looked in doubt of winning the sprint there, taking the 10 points of first across the line. But yeah, really stretching it out. Maybe he's got a role here to play now that the intermediates are done to really put the hurt on the other teams.
You can see Mark O'Brien there trying to close that down with Chris Small from Evo. All the teams throwing what they can at this in the front part of this race.
Yeah, we're in with Mark O'Brien now, and just a little bit of a gap here on the road with 5 riders. Got about a second gap back to the peloton. Would be a dangerous little break here if the peloton don't respond, but they are stretching out here. Looks like this is all going to come back together, but gee, there must be some tired legs in this group, Josh. This has been frenetic.
All I can say is I think Mark's looking good for Melbourne and Warrnambool in a few weeks' time. Being postponed from our Melbourne lockdown that we had, our 5-day lockdown, but he's looking very good for Melbourne and Warrnambool, I should say, on 1st of May, and whoever else is in the group there racing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be taking him on at the moment when, as we speak of the devil, here he goes again, 6.6 watts per kilo. Thank you very much. Just
pay up, Adam.
stretching.
I put money on it. Yeah.
We do see the Aero team just kind of sitting in there. Nick from Velokicks catching a wheel, letting Mark do the work, making the other teams chase. A few picked up a steamroller through that sprint banner. They're going to use it here quite smartly on the dirt to stay in touch. We haven't really watched a race through this section yet as we've been jumping back and forth. And I have found one of the C-grade riders, so we should be able to get back to them as this race concludes, which is good news for our fans of the C-grade races. But we'll stick with the A-grade is what have we got, about 4 and a bit Ks to go, basically through the tunnel, and then we're into the last 1.5 Ks. About at 1.5 Ks to go when we hit the pinch out of the tunnel. They're not waiting for that though, Josh. Fair to say.
No.
We've got
is a bit of effort being put in here now.
Yeah, action off the front again. This is definitely not a sit sprint type of race, and Aero are really the antagonists here. They're just not letting these races settle into a rhythm at all. And it looks like Nick from Velokicks is the one who's been tasked now with taking over from Mark O'Brien to set the pace at the front. And Aero just not letting their opposition settle whatsoever. As you mentioned, just really trying to consolidate their big win in the team time trial and just take a commanding lead at the top of this division after 2 rounds. So we'll see now. We've seen some great points from them through the intermediates, but other teams have been in amongst it as well, and Deepak Elite taking the maximum points there on lap 2. So still all up for grabs. Obviously, the biggest points are available here on the finish line, so anything could happen yet.
Overall, so far, we're seeing some high 4 watts per kilo as an average for the race so far. So 40, going almost 45 minutes of average. Mark O'Brien, what do you want to guess that his average watts per kilo has been for the race?
Oh, is he over 5? It wouldn't surprise me.
Yep, yeah, for over 5. Well and truly over 5. We're at 5.5 watts per kilo for 45 minutes for Mark.
Unbelievable.
There's
Well,
a
he's
couple more little 5s in there. Jeffrey Hunt from Wes. But yeah, Mark definitely taking the chocolates for the biggest efforts. I think most aggressive rider for the day has to be Mark O'Brien.
oh,
But
absolutely.
Nick Velotip from Aero really making some work at the front here. Not making it easy for any attacks coming, sitting around that 5.5 watts per kilo, making it hard for anyone to come around.
Yeah, it really does look like some team tactics in play here from the Aero team. They are sitting up the front, setting the pace, taking turns. We've seen, yeah, Nick and Mark O'Brien, yeah, taking turns to set the pace at the front, and I guess just trying to avoid anyone going long here. It is the kind of finish that, with that kicker, 1.5 Ks to go, it's close enough to the finish that if you've got a strong time trial effort and the peloton look at each other and don't really have the legs to chase and don't work together, a solo rider can get away here on this finish. So we're coming up to that rise shortly. It's going to be interesting to see whether we have a bunch kick or whether we see a breakaway take the chocolates today, like we saw with Sam Lindsay from Deepak Elite there on that final prime.
I think we're going to see a bit of fireworks as we come out of the tunnel.
Yeah, I think anyone hoping to
As
just kind of
we
pick up here and sit
approaching
in.
that rise now, this is where I think we're going to see a lot of work from Aero.
Yeah, we're seeing some orange numbers already as we hit the bottom of this kicker. And with Lindsay from Deepak Elite, he's up around 8 watts per kilo just to hold the front of this group. So yeah, some Aero jerseys very prominent. Looks like they've got 5 riders here in the leading bunch. So dominant performance so far. And they're certainly very prominent here, by far the most dominant team. And it looks like Lindsay from Deepak Elite continuing his good form from lap 3. And just like we said, Josh, he is going to try and take this one along and go all the way home. We've got about 1 kilometer to go now for Lindsay. Can he go all the way? Opened up a little bit of a gap now. I don't know if it's going to be enough at this stage. He's going to have to push on. Very, very hard to open up this gap a
It
little bit further.
really hurts at this spot here, Adam. This is where it's going to just really hurt his legs. Lactate has built right up, and we've got this little rise. If he can hold on to that first bridge, I'd give him a bit of a chance, but I think we're going to see a reaction from that bunch.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to close like an absolute freight train as we come around this corner. There's about 500 meters to go now for Lindsay. He's got a 1-2 second gap now on the peloton. He's managing to hold it gap, maybe even extend it slightly over that little rise. And now accelerating down into this right-hand bend, 350 meters to go for Lindsay, who's going to attack, who's going to chase from the back. Bevan launching early. Lindsay's gone. It's the chasers are going to get there, and who's it going to be? Frida from Eat Dirt, Bevan from Deepak Elite, Jones from Deepak Elite, prominent as well. We'll try and stick with the front, looks like. Jones from Deepak Elite.
Holding on.
Oh, Deepak Elite, dominant in that finish. Looks like 4 or 5 riders. They have really played that smart, letting Aero put all the effort in around the intermediates and off the front. But a huge point score for the Deepak Elite team on
And
that
they
finish.
did have the big sprinters, so they were the team to watch. It'll be interesting to see. I think Aero have been sort of very aggressive throughout that whole race, picking up points on all those primes. But yeah, Deepak Elite showing their strength on that last sprint.
Yeah, real contrast in strategies between the teams there. Between chasing the intermediate points, really looking to control the peloton through the race, and just saving the legs for that big final move. And I mean, maybe that was Lindsay's job there. I don't know. We saw him go long, take the first across the line points on the final segment, so we knew he was a threat. And maybe he just set himself out there as a sacrificial lamb to make the rest of the the Peloton Chase and the Deepak Elite riders just said thank you very
Oh,
much.
let's be honest. That's all you need to. That's what you had to do, I should say, to shut down Mark O'Brien and the Aero.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I mean, it was fast and furious there at the end. It's hard to see exactly where those aero riders have finished. I didn't quite see whether, we had 5 riders there though represented in the front for aero. They didn't seem like they were pushing up there though. I think Deepak might have taken a number of those top 4 or 5 positions. So eagerly awaiting the results on Zwift Power from that one to see how the points shake out. But it looks like Deepak Elite might just have got up and snaffled that one. So I don't know what my heart rate's at the moment, Josh. It's pretty high. I don't know if it's as high as these guys, but that was a pretty outstanding finish.
I'm just waiting for an update on Zwift Power to see what we got.
All right, I'll let you sit in on the results. Meanwhile, I have found our C grade races again. Unfortunately, missed that final prime, but we will be able to catch them through to the finish, which is good. So looking at our front peloton, we have about 18 riders here in the front group. A couple more trying desperately to close down a little gap that's opened up through that sprint. We have Pickles from WMZ, Chicken Legs from AHDR at the back of the main group, and right from AHDR working with Pickles. Some great names in this squad to close that gap. And so it looks like we're going to have
That is gold.
17 riders in the C grade race to contest the final sprint. So a slightly smaller group than we saw in the A's, and the rest of the race has been absolutely blown to bits. And we've got a number of groups further down the road, separated from all of those sprint efforts up that dirt climb and through the intermediates. So if I take a look through who's making up this front group, so TBR have got a couple of representatives in here. The Dirt and Any team, who I mentioned was second in the team time trial. I can see a few of their riders represented. WMZ, they were the winners last week in the team time trial in the C1 division, the WMZ or WMZ Chasers. So looking like they're continuing their good form and represented here in the front group. As we head through this last little dirt section, a few lucky riders picking up the steamrollers to get through there and save a few watts heading into this final 3 or so kilometers. And like we saw in the A grade race, this might light up pretty early on some tired legs. Almost looking like a coordinated steamroller attack off the front here, Josh. I'm not sure if this is deliberate or whether this is just the benefits of the steamroller coming into play, but 3 kilometers from home, any of these riders who thought they were going to get a nice easy draft in to the finish have got another thing coming. We might see some attrition here.
Yeah, just really stringing that front bunch out, making it very hard for everybody else. Look, probably something that I would do, not having the smooth legs like you have, Adam. But I would definitely try and string that group out and just try and get some attrition going, so I've got some sort of a chance to hang in there at the end.
Yeah,
So probably the strategy I would go for.
This is my worst nightmare right here. I just want to be recovering at this point. So yeah, anyone who's racing in the Americas League against me tomorrow, hopefully none of them are watching, because I'll know that my weakness is sustained power and having to chase these kind of attacks. I just want to sit in for that final minute. That's my time to shine.
Exactly.
It's coming down into the ocean tunnel now. Got about 2.5 kilometers to go. Nice little 1 kilometer flat section here before we do kick up onto that final rise. We'll see whether anyone tries their luck or whether we see any interesting tactics. We do have some teams here with some reasonable representation. A few HDR jerseys prominent. We've got 3 herd riders up the front here. A couple from WMZ, couple from Dirt and Ernie. There's some possibilities here if the teams are working together, chatting on Discord like we often do. We might see perhaps a dummy attack off the front, looking to force the other teams to chase and opening up some opportunities for the sprinters. It's going to be an exciting finish.
This is just a long lead into this downtown sprint that we got here. You're just dying for this race to finish right now.
Yeah, those intermediates are they really do take a toll. Even if you're not going for the points, you have no choice but to surge and to sprint just to hold on to the group. I mean, we've seen the attrition here. We're down to only, what, 17, 18 riders in this peloton out of 67 starters. So, yeah, whether or not you're chasing the intermediate points, it's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
It looks like a fairly cagey group at this stage. No one willing to play any cards just yet. As we're coming around this corner, we'll hit the pinch and we'll be at 1.5 kilometers to the finish. So we'll see whether any of these teams are able to organise themselves into a bit of a squad, a bit of a lead-out train for their designated sprinters. Get a chance to look on
That's
Zwift
fair.
Paradol at who our likely sprinters are from this group, Josh.
What are we looking at? I getting a bit of a mix of results here at the moment, Adam. I'm
Yeah,
not
actually, I
really
just
seeing. Yeah,
yeah, just on Zwift Para Live, looking at the live results, we'll see whether that's confirmed or not. But Deepak Elite taking first, second, third, and fourth in the A1
mm,
division. Ben Jones first, James Bevan second, David Pacheco third, Fabian Devola fourth, and then Harley Moore from Aero rounding out the top five. So, stunning finish from the Deepak Elite team.
definitely showed their strength at the end there, didn't they?
Absolutely, that was a commanding finish. Yeah, and perhaps just a masterclass in tactics there, sending Lindsay off the front, dragging everyone else out, and just coming over the top with a commanding finish. That
Just
was amazing.
shutting down Aero and any of their long range attacks. It was very clever. But it'll be interesting to see where the points stand at the end of the race, where they all add up. Did Aero get a few more points throughout the race versus Deepak Elite?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they sort of seemed to have the advantage there in the intermediates, but yeah, the big points obviously are on the line at the end. So as we see the C graders
So
coming into their finale, and Franz Dupe from Evo, another regular name, we saw him contending a number of the intermediates, and he's going to be our long attacker. I don't believe he's got any teammates in the bunch that he might be leading out for here, so I think this is just a long go to see what he can do, and maybe try and sneak away for the win.
see, just hanging in there. I was going to just about to say that I would bet on him a little bit because of those attacks early on for the primes and holding out. It looks like he's been swallowed up for the group there, and we've got D Pickles really countering and going hard. And again, this is just where he needs to hold on.
Yeah, this is a great move, the counter attack over the
Four
top.
and a half watts per kilo. If he can hold that into those bridges, Adam, we give him a chance.
Yeah, it looks like the group kind of wasn't expecting that. They were just sort of chasing on that chasing Fran's dupe and then thinking they might just kind of get to settle in. But Pickles had other ideas. He's gone straight over the top, opened up a 3-second gap. And as we come around this corner, 350 meters to go, this might be all over. Chase
Bit of
starting in
reaction coming
earnest
from
now.
the group now.
Yeah, Villago from TZP, 14 watts per kilo, and he's coming like a freight train. Villago straight past
And
Pickles.
the aero power. Look at him go.
This is a huge finish, 850 watts, 942 watts. Villago from TZP, thank you very much. Smith from AHDR and Chicken Legs from AHDR closing in. Who else did we see? A couple of representatives from the Dirt team in that top five as well. But Via Largo, wow, that was some serious sprinting to finish that one off.
Big reaction there. That was great.
Yeah, he must have gone from about 200 out and just overpowered them. Too good.
Must have watched your video, Adam, and gone from that first bridge to the second bridge, and just could not hold him from there.
Yeah, we didn't see any sort of conventional bunch sprints there. We saw, Deepak Elite leading it out long in the A graders, and then, yeah, I found really interesting finish there with a long move, a counter attack, and then, a final surge over the top just to take the win. So fantastic racing. Looking forward to the future time zones. So good luck tomorrow, Josh, in EMEA, and good
And
luck to
yourself, Adam, with that lazy sleeping that you've got. I don't know how I'm going to get my warm up in for a 4:40 start.
No, my legs tend to disagree with me at that time of morning. It needs a good shot of caffeine and a nice warm up maybe with Bowie around the rollers of San and Sequoias if he's on that course this week.
Mm,
A few hard sprints, I think, in the warm-up are in order if we're going to be contesting that first prime around 5Ks in.
that's right. I think if I can hang on to that front group, I'll be okay. But looking at the power of the teams ahead of me, I'll be happy to sit in that second group and just pick up some finishing points.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much, Josh, for joining me on Zwiftaholics. First time. Would love to have you back in the commentary box. That was good fun. Thank you for everyone for watching. If you do want to keep supporting free broadcast community racing on Zwift, hit the subscribe button. That is the best thing you can do to support YouTube content. And yeah, look forward to joining you in future races. Look out for future race breakdowns, highlights, and live footage. So good night, Josh, and thanks for
Good
watching.
night, Adam. Thank you very much.